Most people know of at least a couple of famous haunted buildings, possibly in their own hometown. We often think of only homes or churches as being haunted, but the truth is that we can find spirits just about anywhere, including roads. Some of the stories about spooky streets and frightening freeways go back dozens of years, featuring real-life tragedies and otherworldly apparitions. So, keep your hands on the steering wheel and hang on tight as we present to you 5 haunted highways from across the world. The legend of Talamini Road in Bridgewater, New Jersey is a strange one. Unlike similar stories of ghostly figments appearing to warn people of impending danger, this one can only be heard rather than seen. It is believed that if you pass the curve on Talamini Road too fast, an eerie human moan can be heard from the driver's side of the car, and only at night. The prevailing tale is that one night, a driver tried to take the small curve at over 50 miles per hour, failing to make the turn, and perished in a violent crash. To make matters worse, a young child was also killed in the accident as they were playing too close to the road in their yard nearby. Most people who have experienced the phenomenon have said the moaning sounds like the voice of a man, likely the driver, telling you to slow down. Others say it is the sound of a distant truck's horn warning you to beware of the curve ahead. The sound is reported to be droning and monotone, perhaps even a bit gurgled, but that it feels cautionary nonetheless. This story bears similarities to other legends, a car wreck, a death, and a warning for those who dare to cross the ghostly point of impact. However, this phenomenon has been repeatable, and many more people claim to have experienced it. They have reported that if you were headed west on Talamini Road, before the intersection of Country Club Road, traveling 35 miles an hour, and just beyond the slow children sign, a deep and rumbling moan can be heard. The actual speed limit on the road is 25 miles per hour and not 35 miles per hour, so testing the legend is not recommended. Many who have tested this share that they did indeed hear something, maybe a horn, maybe a voice, but that the sound was clearly audible. Beyond the supernatural, there are very loose theories explaining the moaning. These theories usually cite acoustical anomalies in the area or inadvertent ridge lines in the pavement that cause vibrations from the tires. However, people have checked the pavement for ripples or bumps of any kind, finding nothing. Today, the sound remains a mystery. A 1-mile section of Kelly Road in Ohio, Pennsylvania tallies up dozens of reports of paranormal activity and bizarre happenings each year. Nicknamed as the Mystery Mile, this stretch of road has been fraught with strange occurrences for decades. While haunted roads are possessed by a spirit, often with a friendly nature, the paranormal activity on Kelly Road is known to be malicious and violent. There have been multiple accounts of local townspeople who said that they witnessed previously docile animals in the area becoming overly aggressive, even appearing to be rabid. Farm animals near the stretch of road have been known to escape their enclosures and chase after people. Farmers often report their livestock making strange noises in the middle of the night, and there is an unusual amount of insect swarms that gather along the roadway. Drivers who pass through a particular stretch of dark wooded road at night have reported seeing glowing white figures running through the woods beside them, darting through the trees. People have also reported strange noises coming from deeper within the forest. Some people have sworn to have seen glowing apparitions of children dressed in colonial clothing, described as having menacing expressions. Locals have even seen a young, angry boy that would show up in their yards and stare through their windows. Some of the most popular theories are that the land is tainted due to cult activities by early settlers, or that a curse may have been placed on the land by the dwindling Native American tribes in the 1700s. Prior to William Penn's arrival in eastern Pennsylvania, the area where Ohioville stands today was originally hunting grounds for the Iroquois tribe of the Five Nations. There are other, uncannily similar reports that a small group of young boys vanished in the forest more than a century ago, taken by a cult somewhere deep in the forest. In Arizona, Highway 93 runs through the desert northwest from Wickenburg up to Highway 40 just east of the Nevada border. The locals call the highway Blood Alley because of the many tragic deaths that have occurred along its length. It is a winding road filled with blind curves, hills, and almost no shoulder room along the sides. Due to the rising hills, there are lots of dead zones where cell phones don't work, and even CB radios only pick up static. Oftentimes at night, you can travel for many miles without ever seeing another vehicle. The road has such a history of tragedy that the entire length of Highway 93 is marked with small white crosses, and in some spots, a cluster of crosses denote where entire vehicles of people have died. But beyond this, the highway is reportedly home to two strange entities in particular, a ghost highwayman and a phantom bus. One family shared their story of their encounter with the ghost highwayman. As they traveled south toward Wickenburg late one night, they saw what looked like the light of a lantern glowing on the side of the road. As they approached, they could see that it was being carried by someone. A tall man stepped out of the shadows, dressed in a black duster, cowboy boots, and a black cowboy hat that was pulled down low, concealing his face. He held the lantern in front of him just above his head. Behind him was parked an older model black Harley-Davidson motorcycle. As they drove past the man, he stepped forward and the light of his lantern went out, disappearing into the shadows. The ghost bus of Highway 93, also known as the ghost bus of Union Pass, is a phantom that haunts the highway between Wickenburg and Wikieup. The bus is rumored to be bus number 777, which completely vanished sometime in 2002. No one knows what happened to the passengers. Only Joe, the bus driver, was ever found alive. Joe was discovered wandering on the shoulder of the highway, completely incoherent, looking for his bus. He was later able to tell investigators that the bus was in desperate need of repairs, but his 48 passengers urged him not to stop. As Joe continued driving, the bus became hot as an oven with smoke seeping into the cabin. Later, when he knew he needed to pull over and get help as the bus was losing power, the frenzied passengers mutinied. They left him on the side of the road without his shoes. In their mania, the passengers pushed the bus over the next summit, climbed aboard as gravity took over, and were never heard from again. Police searched the area for days afterwards, but there was no bus, no skid marks or debris. They had completely disappeared. To this day, dozens of overnight drivers have seen headlights of a large vehicle come racing up behind them. The headlights are very high up and intensely bright. As drivers quickly press the gas, believing they are about to be hit from behind, the lights and the vehicle behind flicker out and vanish. Opened in 1977, Tuen Mun Road is Hong Kong's busiest expressway. Its 12-mile stretch circles the bustling city, winding along a steep terrain next to the coastline. The road has a tragic history of fatal traffic accidents, with many people attributing these crashes to design flaws in the expressway, such as treacherously narrow lanes, blind spots, and overall poor maintenance. Over the past 35 years, there have been an extremely high number of car accidents where the drivers who survived have stated the same thing, that something mysterious was to blame. Many locals believe that ghosts cause some of these accidents, seeing spirits suddenly appear in the middle of the road, causing drivers to swerve to avoid them. Drivers would also inexplicably lose control of their cars, as if something else was pulling the vehicle into danger. Both drivers and passengers have seen glowing eyes in the bushes that line the expressway. The area where the highway sits today was known to be haunted for many years before the expressway was ever constructed. Visiting tourists who knew nothing about the older legends have also reported seeing apparitions. The worst accident happened in 2003, when a truck driver lost control and careened into a passenger bus, which caused both vehicles to crash through the guardrails, over the embankment, and down an 115-foot cliff. The accident killed 21 people, including the bus driver. Shortly afterwards, witnesses stated they saw ghosts all along the highway. The locals believe that it will only get worse over time, as with each fatal accident, the number of ghosts who are trapped along Tuen Mun Road will continue to grow. Some believe these ghosts have an evil intent, believing that they are scaring drivers on purpose to add to their numbers and that they are seeking revenge. The length of Rural Route 2A, running through the woods of Haynesville, Maine, has been responsible for several real-life horrors, including the untimely deaths of many truckers who have gotten into accidents along icy patches of the street. The road is closed in on both sides by a thick forest, and the asphalt becomes a solid, unmelting sheet of ice during the treacherous winter months. There is even a famous trucking song about it by Dick Curlis called "A Tombstone Every Mile." The lyrics state, "It's a stretch of road up north in Maine that's never ever ever seen a smile. If they buried all the truckers lost in them woods, there'd be a tombstone every mile." As dangerous as the area is, it isn't the spirits of the truckers who are said to haunt Route 2A. One famous apparition is that of a young woman who screams at passing drivers, pleading for their help. Travelers would find her walking alongside the road in the dead of winter, clutching her arms and staring straight ahead. If the driver stops to listen, she sobs that her and her husband were involved in an accident when their car encountered an icy patch and careened into a utility pole, leaving her husband trapped inside. Those who offer her a hand would feel an overpowering chill before watching the woman disappear into thin air. Another of the most famous hauntings has supporting evidence to untimely deaths supported by local newspaper articles. Two 10-year-old girls died along Route 2A in Haynesville back in 1967. The legend says it was merely an innocent walk along the woods that led to their death. Today, drivers share stories of the figure of a little girl walking down Route 2A, looking lost and confused. People have stopped and offered her a ride, and the little girl will climb in, but shortly after the drive continues, as she is seated right beside the driver, they might look away for a moment, and the girl would be nowhere to be seen. For more videos about the paranormal and the unexplained, please like and subscribe to the Oddities Observed channel.